This video is on proxies and their place in old school Magic the Gathering. I'm making this video not to say that everyone should be using proxies or no one should be using proxies. The great thing about old school is there is no organizing body, so any tournament organizer can make up whatever rules they want on proxies, depending on what aesthetics they want, depending on what kind of people play in the tournament. What I am trying to get across here is there are different versions of proxies and different grades of proxies, whatever you want to call them. And it would be nice to have the community have some discussion on maybe settling on something. So without really getting into too many details, let's start off with the most basic of proxies. And I apologize for the focus on these because I will be manually focusing because this camera causes all kinds of issues. So this is my proxy from 1994. This is an Argiving Archaeologist. At the time I actually had the card, but since we didn't use sleeves, I didn't want to destroy the card, so I wrote it on a basic planes. So this has been with me for years as a proxy for that card. Anyone, obviously, can make a proxy of this caliber. So let's move on. This one, I took a magic card, and I used acetone, and I wiped the card blank, and then I made a mock sapphire on the card. I really like when tournament organizers will provide blank cards and basically tell the people participating in a tournament, do their best to make something pretty on the top, and it definitely gives it its own flavor for that tournament. But you could make your own like this where it's more long lasting and it's made to be more intentional as a stand-in for that card. And one of the more important things is to make sure that the art kind of aligns. One of the great things about old school obviously is that you can tell what a card is when people drop it, so if you can get the art closer by hand, that's great. A step up from that would be actually getting a proxy from the original artist. Dan Fraser sells proxy sets of his Moxen. This one is on the relevant ward. And, it doesn't have to be the actual artist. It would be, pretty pimp to, get one of these blanked cards and send it to your favorite person that does altars and ask them to do up, whatever proxy card art that you're looking for and whatever set it is. And this is something really cool that you could put in your deck and people are going to kind of gush over. Another option would be, if we could settle on one of the many different versions of art that are out there. There's multiple people that have put together their own alternate art for the Power 9 and various other cards. It would be cool if tournaments would commission a piece, with some of the prize money, and then that picture or piece could become part of this old school pool, where various people could print out their own proxy at home that's going to go with the old school, and then you'd have basically an alternate version of each card. That would probably be one of the cleanest ways. That way you're getting consistent things throughout all the different people. And you'd look at it and be like, oh, that's an old school proxy. And again, if it was something that you could do at a tournament, maybe you could get it stamped at the tournament to show where it was, give it some sentimental value. And all of this is to try to elevate a proxy above a sharpie thing on a basic land. If we can make it something of its own, it becomes something more accepted in the community for people that maybe don't like proxies so much. Case in point is when I started playing, no one thought collector's edition were really worth much of anything. And people will now argue with you that they are not proxies because they're legal in old school, but they're not really legal cards. You can't take them to a regular Wizards tournament and play with them. This is kind of the de facto standard now for a proxy, and it is so far ingrained that people no longer consider it a proxy. So if we can make some of these other cards more interesting to people, then they become more accepted if that's your thing. One of the things that I wanted to point out before I go into the next half of this video is just, you can have really crappy inkjet versions of cards. This is what I used to use to replace my Gauntlet of Might. I was afraid of sleeving it up back in the 90s when I started using sleeves. But the big thing that irritates a lot of people is counterfeit cards. Counterfeit cards are distinct from proxies in that they're trying to emulate the authentic card in basically every way, shape, and form. They're trying not to distinguish themselves. They're trying to blend in. And people have various reasons for being against counterfeit cards. I've thought long and hard about how to show my reservations against them. I think one of the best ways is to show this mountain from Revised. I've had it for years, and then take that mountain and tear it in half. And I did that on camera, and it really bothered me just now to do that. Why? Because a lot of people say, well, it's just cardboard. I'm not a collector. I am a de facto collector, I guess. But first and foremost, I'm a player, and these cards have a lot of sentimental value. Here, reserved list tracker. Oh, look at that, all tore up. I played with this guy for years. You know what? It really bothers me to tear one in half. It bothers me really badly. For the simple fact that it's something that I've had for years, and all these cards mean something to me, and they all have history. And you know what? If I take this, this junky, crappily printed counterfeit land tax and tear it in half, it's like, oh, whoop-de-doo. And it's that feeling that something is being disingenuous. It is my own reservation against proxies. I don't mind someone playing with cards they don't have. I've done it for years. But when they're trying to copy the authentic cards, it really bothers me. One of the means to bypass that, I was thinking, is if someone wants to have the exact card, have the tournament make up a stamp and stamp the card. This isn't just to differentiate that card from an authentic card. This marks it for the tournament, gives it some sentimental value, gives it some value to say I was there. In this case, I wrote a bunch of stuff on here, Old School Proxy, and put like check boxes where you could actually check the thing off while you're playing it, that this card has been animated, that it's been shattered, to give it a life cycle, to give it a story, to make it something more than just, a copy. And this would be really cool for me. And I know a lot of people like the original art because then they can take the pictures of their deck and it all fits in. So this is one option. Another one I wanted to point out, sometimes it's really difficult to read on that one all the different stuff. But have an opaque kind of symbol that someone could stamp on the cards. And then that's going to give them their own value to that person that, I remember playing in this tournament. Here's the cards that I had. It was really cool. I've got this proxy, a leaf from Cairo now that it's been stamped and it's been marked as a proxy. It's less of a counterfeit. It's not trying to be real. But the big things in this video, the things I was trying to show off in all this, this roundabout way, was just, it would be nice if we could settle on something that would be the proxy standard in Old School, whether it be, everyone has their own proxies that they've put together, at tournaments, whether it be, we get things commissioned, we get, professional artists to do it, we get, we try to, up the game on that. Whether we have custom art made, or a set of art where we can say, if you want proxies, here's the list that we have, here's the files that we have if you want to print them out. And, it makes those special, it makes those distinct to Old School. It makes those, something that you remember from a tournament, getting at the tournament, something you remember bringing to the tournament and having people sign. These things would make proxies special. And I think, people would find that as another interesting avenue in the game. So I just wanted to throw that out there, present this. My ideas aren't necessarily your ideas or anyone else's ideas on this matter. I am far from an authority in any way, shape, or form on this, but I thought that it might get the ball rolling on maybe looking at, when someone says proxy, when someone says a tournament allows proxies, what should we allow?